been sick for 17 years now, and one of the things that helps keep me from becoming worn out by having to cope with the daily adversity of my illness is living in Paris for part of each year. Living in Paris not only rejuvenates me, but after years of living housebound, I especially treasure the way that living between two countries expands my world, a world which had grown much too small, too limited, until recent years. When I first returned from my first day in Paris, I was surprised by how many people have the mistaken impression that my life in Paris is somehow better than in Seattle. Many seem to think that my time over there is like an extended vacation, practically a fairy tale. And it's true that I don't know of a city that gets more romanticized than Paris. So, I hate to burst the bubbles, but my life in Paris has just as many challenges and problems as in Seattle. I found that the less one knows about a country or city, the easier it is to project our dreams and fantasies onto it. Perhaps this kind of persistent fairy tale belief is something like a new romance. When we first fall in love with someone, it's easy to think that the other person is a perfect match. But if the relationship continues for long enough, we often learn that it's not as perfect as we thought at first, but we end up getting to know more fully the person we've fallen in love with. Paris has been a similar experience for me. As much as I love the idea of living there, once I had to do such things as look for healthcare and housing in Paris, the honeymoon was over. The simple truth is that I love my home city, Seattle, as well as Paris, but I love them for different reasons. It's true that Paris is a gorgeous city with its quaint streets and broad boulevards, but I find Seattle equally beautiful, just in a different way. For me, Paris's beauty lies mainly in its architecture, whereas Seattle's beauty stems more from its greenery and natural wonder, which fills me with a sense of peace. I love how stimulating Paris is, but I also love how relaxing Seattle is. One of the best parts of my life in Paris is the neighborhood that I live in while there. And one of my favorite parts of my life in Seattle is the neighborhood that I live in while here. In Paris, I love my neighborhood's small food shops and that I get to know my butcher and pastry maker. And though my Seattle neighborhood may not be as physically charming, my neighbors more than make up for that difference. We laugh together at barbecues, the kids play kick the can in my yard. In Paris, my neighbors barely talk to one another. When I first returned back to Seattle from my first Paris stay and had to be hospitalized immediately, some of my neighbors generously volunteered to grocery shop for me. Another one put snow tires on my car, and yet another sorted through my 5 months' worth of unopened mail. Even the kids pitched in to help when I hired a boy down the street to deliver my mail to the neighbor who was going to sort it. Mark had just left a notice on my doorstep announcing his new detective agency. His note read, 25 cents per case, no case too small. Now, I was so taken with the very idea that we had a detective agency right here on our street that I hired him right away to cart my mail down the road, even though I didn't have a crime that needed to be solved. One of the best parts of my life in Paris is the food. Oh, the exquisite French pastries, the freshly baked baguettes, and the wonderful things the French can do with pork. Nevertheless, I love the food in Seattle just as much, and am happy to return to fudgy brownies, sandwich bread from my local bakery, and grilling on my deck. I frequent some fabulous food shops in Seattle, such as one that specializes in cake and cookie decorating supplies. When I was in Paris last fall, I taught a class, a cookie decorating class to young children, and combed the city looking for some of the things that I can routinely get here. And I never quite found a shop that has all this has to offer. One of the things I love are these colorings, food colorings that are fabulous colors, but they're made of powdered non-toxic chalk. I think that part of the reason we can be swept away by fantasies of Paris, aside from obvious reasons such as that as tourists we tend to experience the city in limited ways, is that traveling takes us out of our automatic routines. Everything around us is new, so we notice everything more and so delight in the beauty and wonder of it. My 17-year illness has had a similar effect on me. It's been an unexpected gift. You see, my sickness has moved me away from living automatically, at least most of the time, because I can't take anything for granted. I don't know if I'll be able to get out of bed tomorrow or whether I'll be well enough to talk. When I first get to go out after weeks of being housebound in my Seattle home, I see a new manner of magical beauty all around me. I notice everything more keenly and so delight in the joy and wonder of it. At those moments, I feel like a rejuvenated tourist in my own city, and I become amazed that I get to live in such a wonderful place. If you'd like to learn more about how I'm able to live in Paris with a major illness, you might be interested in my video, Following My Dream to Live in Paris.